watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 19th meeting for the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good afternoon. I'll call to order this Board of Public Works and Safety meeting for Monday, May 19th, 2025. The local time is 4 o'clock, and I'll call the roll. Mr. Simmons?
Present.
Mr. Tisdale?
Present.
Ms. Smith?
Present.
Ms. Moore?
Present.
Attorney Beal?
Present.
And Mr. York is present. Oh, and Madam Clerk is present. All right, our first order of business today is approval of the minutes from our regular hybrid Zoom meeting from May 5th, 2025, and executive meeting on Monday, May 12th, 2025. Are there any amendments or changes?
Motion to approve as presented.
Support.
We'll call for the vote. Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Moore?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Second here. All right, our next order of business is a agreement.
Skylar, you missed one.
Did I?
President. Yep, the executive meeting. Sorry, I listed two of them on there.
Oh, okay, I read it. Do you want to call two? Do we need two separate votes on that, Mr. Attorney Beal?
Yes.
Okay, let's call, okay, so I will back up. So we approved our minutes from May 5th, 2025. Do I hear a motion on the executive meeting on Monday, May 12th, 2025? Correct? Yes. Any changes or to this, or do I hear a motion?
No. Motion to approve.
Support.
Call for the vote. Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Moore?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Sorry about that. Keeping me in check. All right. Next order of business is an agreement. This is an agreement for cross-access easement between the City of Michigan City and Bowmore LLC for cross easement access at 3985 North, 950 West, and West 400 North. I am going to ask Miss Engineer Warner to come up to the mic, and I'll ask you to give a little bit of background, and I'll jump in where I can.
Okay. City Engineer Tim Warner. This is a parcel at the southeast corner of basically Cleveland and Kiefer Road. It's a county parcel. The City of Michigan City owns a strip of land on the along the south right of way of Kiefer Road. So the developer, it's wetland on the east side against Cleveland. He can't really get good access over there. There's a NIPSCO substation and things. So he wanted to get access onto Kiefer, and he needs to cross the property that the city owns there. So it's basically just providing him the right to cross the strip of land that the city owns south of the Kiefer Road right away. Any questions?
I don't know that I have anything to add.
But we're not giving up that easement.
No, we're keeping the easement. This is just allowing him to put his access driveway over this strip of land we have to get to the roadway.
And whatever access would go across that would need to be reviewed to go over that, basically. So we're not giving up the easement. We're keeping our easement. It's just simply to drive across it.
Giving him the right to create a driveway over it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. And thank you for waiting until I sit down.
No problem. I have a question.
Access across.
I forgot. I'm sorry. You can have it.
All right. I'll be here. I'll be here all evening.
Any other questions of Engineer Warner? Any other questions? Go ahead.
What are we building there?
We do not know. The land is being sold. Here's the what we know. The land is being sold. It was originally held by Holiday Properties and it's being transferred, I think to the Bowmore LLC. I think someone's buying it from them. And what we do know is that they want access to 400 at that location. We don't, if it was in the side of the city, it would be kind of a little bit easier to work with
Mhm.
in that we would just simply go to Tim and do a curb cut permit and it would be done. And we would be, the planning would be reviewing the plans.
Mhm.
But this one's just a little bit different in that it's not in the city. But we own the piece of land directly in front of it. So they got to go
Okay.
across us.
Okay.
So it's just a little strange. So I guess what we're saying is, from a city standpoint, is we're okay with, obviously this has been done in conjunction with, a sanitary review, a city engineer review, planning. I reviewed this. Water department reviewed it, and then this was created, and it was reviewed, I believe, by Attorney Buell and Attorney LePage as well, to make sure that it was ready to present to here today.
Okay.
That's really all I know. I don't know what's going there. I have heard that it would probably be something medical related, since there's medical offices down the way there. She remembered.
Is your recommendation? What, do you have
What's
a
your
recommendation?
My recommendation is to accept the easement.
Excellent. Any other questions on this item? Any other questions? All right, I'm going to open up for public comment. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? See Mr. O'Connor back there. Come up here. Yeah. I just saw you back there. Sorry, you looked up. I was like, oh, he's here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Michael O'Connor. I'm with Holiday Properties. Bowmore LLC is the owner, and it's a related entity to Holiday Properties. We're selling it to another investor, and he does plan a medical office use for the site, oriented towards the east side of the property.
Did we misrepresent anything else here that needs to be
No.
corrected? Okay.
Although, thank you for your help with it. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other question? Any other public comments? Any other public comments on this item? Anything online? No. Okay, I'll close public comments. Any other questions of Mr. Warner or myself, or do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call for the vote. Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Moore?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Next order of business is an agreement for professional services with Great Lakes Urban Forestry and the City of Michigan City for tree services in the amount not to exceed $40,000. Is anyone here to speak on this today? I assume Attorney Bill, you've reviewed this agreement.
I was hoping someone would speak on it today.
Yeah.
As I indicated, I'm sure Attorney LePage has reviewed this and I believe she was the one that drafted it, so.
Oh, excellent.
I'll just add, I believe this is a 6-month contract for them. Yeah, this is the firm that did our overall city tree inventory for the tree board and for the city. So this company is pretty familiar with what our forestry issues are and that. So I would just recommend to go ahead and accept this until we can find a full-time forester again with our forester currently retiring. Okay. Any questions?
Mr. Simmons, you had questions.
What line item is this 40,000 coming from?
There's enough budgeted in the Forrester's budget in contractual services to cover this contract.
Excellent. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, I'll open up for public comment. Any public comments on this item? Or any public comments on this item? Any public comments? Anything online? Okay, I'll close public comments. Any other questions on this item, or do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next order of business is a request for closure for construction. Gluth Brothers Roofing Company is requesting to close street parking on the south side of 532 Franklin Street and the sidewalk. Tell us a little bit, introduce yourself and
I'm Joy from Gluth Brothers Roofing. We're going to be doing a roof replacement project at the address located at 532 Franklin Street. We're requesting to close the parking spaces and block the sidewalk for the dumpster and the crane during the roof replacement. We anticipate start date would be this Thursday, May 22nd through the following Thursday, May 29th. We would leave the dumpster in the parking spaces throughout the duration of the project. The crane, we would only need to have that there from about 7 a.m. to noon daily. And then that would be moved every day.
any questions of Joy? Any questions from the board? Good. Alrighty, I'll open it for public comment. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? You're okay with the street closure and sidewalks?
I'm not sure. Have they provided a sidewalk closure, pedestrian crossings? Maintenance of traffic.
Basically maintenance of traffic.
Okay.
I do not know the answer to that.
Yeah, and the reason I asked, the federal government just recently passed the ProRag, which is the pedestrian right-of-way accessibility guidelines for all construction. And if we have a existing sidewalk that pedestrians can use and we're closing it, it has to be provided with some maintenance of the pedestrian route with street closure signs to direct them to the other side of the street for the open sidewalk. More new guidelines.
Joy, could I ask you to come back up for just a second? Could you guys work together on this to try to decide where it go? I'm looking at it and I think there's some natural areas of where you would switch people. You'd just say, switch this sidewalk closed, switch to the other side.
Yeah, so you had this mid-block crossing, you just put sidewalk closed and have them cross back over to continue, and then they can come back at the intersection.
So just
So
a
just-
sign like on the sawhorse.
Yeah, sidewalk,
Thanks, Mike.
sawhorse, arrow back to that, and then the arrow back across if they need to get back.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, we can do something like that.
very good.
Okay.
Is this something you could work with Mr. Werner on to
Yep.
make sure it gets done? Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
We'll be- For fun future, I have to head up for another meeting after this, so sorry.
No, you're good. Are there any other public comments? Any other public comments on this item? Any other public comments? Okay, I'll close public comments. Any other questions of Joy or Tim Werner on this, Engineer Werner? Sounds like he's getting what he needs on this item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call for the vote. Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, Joy, for working with Mr. Werner. If you guys can get that done, that would be great. Excellent. Thank you. Our next order of business is a mobile food vendor location change. Moe's Fresh Mediterranean Moe's Fresh Mediterranean Mobile Food Truck is requesting to change the location of his mobile food truck to the corner of Franklin and Water Street. Otherwise kind of in the vicinity of 703 East Michigan Boulevard. Address was the original address. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. 703 was the original address.
I apologize. Yep, so it's 703 East Michigan Boulevard would be the new address, correct?
So I'm giving him the option. My name is Irene Burnett, by the way, with Lifestyles LLC. I have the property at Water and Franklin. And during the summer, I was looking to extend a lease to food trucks. Two, one would be ice cream, and that would be Frosty Boy off from Lake Street, Route 20 in Michigan City. And then Mo here has the Mediterranean food truck, Mo's.
Okay, I'm confused with the 703.
703 was, if he would like to use that, I would let him use that space as well. So they're both vacant.
I gotcha. I apologize. I misunderstood. I thought that was the actual address of the, because
Of the location.
yeah,
Well, the address hasn't been assigned to that parcel yet. It only has a parcel ID number, the Water Street property. And that's, the parcel ID is in the application.
Okay, I got it. Oh, sorry, I was a little confused there. Sorry. Okay, give me a second. Alrighty. Got it. So what are we doing? So introduce it, tell us what you're doing.
So basically, we used to have the space at Bricks, our applications, so they're closed, so we changed the locations. And I approached Irene to locate, and it's the one right by the DNR
Sure.
location, and we'd just like to do location change.
Just for the season.
Yeah, Memorial to
season.
Labor Day,
Yes, Memorial Day to Labor Day.
and it'll be like on Friday and Saturday and some Mondays.
Okay. Do we have anything from, oh, do you have a question? Has anyone reviewed this, Christine, in lieu of? I have not. I don't see anyone from our planning department here, so.
Good afternoon, board.
For the code, if you will, yeah.
So per the code, and that was gonna be under section 26-39, general location requirements. Section B has to be 300 feet or more away from an existing food structure as far as like a restaurant, a brick and mortar. If he goes in the northwest corner of this parcel, which is parcel 4601-2912-8003-000022, he is technically only 290 feet away from the other existing restaurant. And I'm giving them all the way to the very corner, not even including the setback. They're supposed to be 5 foot setback away from the street or sidewalk area.
Okay.
What was the amount that you said originally? I mean, the code?
300 feet or more.
300 feet.
He falls short by 10 foot, and that's not even giving him a setback. So if I gave him like a 5 foot setback, they come up like 285, 280 feet.
Okay. You can go ahead. Mr. Simmons, flip here.
Oh. This certificate from the LaPorte County Health Department. It says expiration date 12/31/2024.
I have the new one. When I applied for this last year, that's the one I provided. So they give one every year. I have the new one.
yeah. So this is essentially just a change of location from his original permit.
Got it.
So I have the updated one. They give it in January of every year, which
Okay.
I did update the insurance too.
And his permit is a year-long permit, so.
Got it.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions of the board?
So he's too close? Is that what you're saying, Christine?
Yes, that's my question.
He is not compliant by our code.
Okay.
Okay, so may I say something? I own the property at 7th and Michigan Boulevard. Next, it's across the street from the Lutheran Church and across the street from Trail Creek Marina. And there are no restaurants around me there. And I will extend him the same opportunity to have his food truck on that property.
Where,
That's
where,
okay with you.
explain one more time where it is.
It's at the corner of 7th and Michigan Boulevard.
Okay.
There used to be 2 antiquated buildings there that were torn down. One of
Yep.
them was blue.
Oh,
one
what
of
were you
them was
talking about?
beige.
Yeah.
Yes. So we cleared that property and in order to make a useful,
Uh-huh. I know exactly what you're talking about.
a way to use the property and allow for somebody to conduct business in an area where there's nothing. So there are no restaurants around there. The closest would be Zorn, and that's about 3 blocks away from me.
Definitely
And
farther
across the
than
street
300.
is
Okay.
Trail Creek Marina, and then I've got the church at the other corner. So
Right.
if that works for you, that is 703 East Michigan Boulevard. So if that works for you, it works for me. And I would let him use that. So it's actually a much larger property, a lot more space, not quite as
Mr. Murray.
congested.
Mr. Moreau. Oh, I thought you were, Mo, did you want to? Okay, yeah.
So 703 East Michigan Boulevard, it's zoned as R3B,
Okay,
and it's also in the Elston Grove Historical District.
okay,
So you have some hurdles to go with that as well.
okay. Okay, feel like we need to like have it reviewed. Like, I don't know that we're gonna be able to make a decision on the Michigan Boulevard today, like right here.
Sure.
It's probably gonna need to be reviewed by the planning department and give it zoning, review it.
Only.
Yeah, I don't know that I can make that we can hash it out right here at this meeting. But it sounds like the other one is too close. But I do want to try to solve this issue, if that would be.
Zorn is also in Elston Grove, correct?
Yes, I'm not worried about. I'm more worried about like the new. Can something else go on that property? You know, like
Okay.
that's the only thing. I don't know that we're going to hash that out here.
Sure.
I haven't read the code in a while, so
Okay. I have seen food trucks at the Zorn property for
yes,
events. They have like a
Absolutely.
chili cook-off and whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it's a possibility that,
yeah. If that would be, I mean, I think that we should look at that location.
I do have a question, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright,
I was
so which restaurant is the one that's I'm close to at that location? Which restaurant am I, the 290?
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if Mady's agreed that it's okay for me to be there, is that a possibility also? Okay.
Yeah, that's really. I'm sorry. That's the way the code set up is like
Yeah.
it.
Because I remember when we were
Yeah,
doing the previous one
reference.
at
Yeah.
on 7th Street by Bricks, I was gonna be set up across the way from, Bricks. And then it was too close, so they were okay with me being there.
Yeah,
so
but Bricks wasn't set up as a restaurant. It was set up as a wine bar. It wasn't permitted as a. It wasn't.
It was
No.
all food.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why the first time when you set up across, they really didn't have much of a say because it's like you weren't a restaurant. They were really set up as a wine bar.
so how many feet am I short to be exact?
You're roughly about 290 feet from, you're actually 10 feet short, 10 foot short from the 300-foot boundary.
Yeah. All right. So we're not going to solve the other Michigan Boulevard one today, but you would be willing to let him go there if it worked. Okay. Okay. All righty. Any other questions of the board from the board?
Just thinking ahead, that ice cream thing you said, that
Yes.
will affect the ice cream in the same manner, correct?
Yeah. Any
Eventually, it's
mobile
like Any
food.
mobile, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but does Mady's serve ice cream?
The way the code's written, it says product. It just means food. Yeah.
Sure, that's fine.
I do remember that piece of it. The code was put in place a long time ago, and it was there was a lot of words that were used to make it give flexibility, but also give assurance to brick and mortar, etc.
Of course, yeah, sure.
Yes, it will affect those. It would affect any of the future uses of mobile it just, yeah. Any other questions of the board? Any other questions of the board?
How much time are we speaking of to get this resolved?
I think that we just need to kick it back to planning with the new location, whichever lot yeah, I know you own a couple of lots there. That's why I'm saying whichever lot you designate as, hey, can you look at this one?
Okay, sure.
Would that be amenable to you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Mo, give us another little bit of time to review.
Yeah, I mean, discussing this right now, I mean, I didn't know we were gonna talk about that location. That was the location that I was focusing on, is this one right here. And unfortunately, with the code that was written a long time ago, it's a little bit,
Yeah, cumbersome.
Your next
that's
meeting would be the first Monday of next month.
Correct.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
We could get everything together to speak about it at that time. then.
Yeah. Mr. Simmons, you have come on. What would you like to do? What's your suggestion?
I was thinking in terms of the next meeting, is that enough time?
I think for us to review and make the decision, or for us meaning of the planning department to review and make the decision, to review that location and bring back a recommendation. I am going to open it up for public comment, real quick. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment?
Hello, board. Scott Mellon, 200 Kenwood Place. I understand the code and the 300 feet. And I understand the good intentions of that code. The thing is, the two locations that have been proposed here are, one's economically viable, in my opinion, and one is not. 7th and the Boulevard doesn't have the same traffic as Franklin at the bridge. This is a seasonal business, so time is of the essence. Our season starts in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Mo, of course, is a longtime local businessman who has successfully opened many establishments and run this food truck. I would suggest a variance for the Water Street and Franklin location. It's barely out of compliance. Seasonality matters. That location would be an excellent place for a food truck to serve our summer visitors. I don't think the 7th Street location is economically viable in the same way. The rules for food trucks are already fairly onerous. I believe he has to pull up every night and set up again every day. Something others have spoken about also being kind of a onerous restriction. Do we want to foster business and economic vitality for the city? Do we want to provide another food source for our, how many millions of visitors do we have every year? How many repeat visitors do we have? The count is incredibly high. It's in the millions. Again, I think we should have a little give here. Maybe you have to give Mady's a chance to be notified. But at the very least, I think a decision needs to be made at the next Board of Works meeting. In my opinion, this is an example of regulation getting in the way of good business. That parking lot, it looks like it would be in the parking lot that looks like it's part of the DNR, but it's not.
Yes.
Maybe he could be parked to the west side of that. Now he's 300 feet away. Okay, so let's come up with a creative solution that benefits everyone here. The people of Michigan City, the visitors of Michigan City, the property owners, and the business owners. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Yeah, Tommy Kolovic, 1316 Ohio Street. Hopefully he gets to have it there. It'd be a good location for that. That's still the same thing. Why don't you just let them lead the food truck there? I know they'd have to go to the council to approve that, but like I said, that's a very poor and unsuccessful business where you got to set it up and come in and provide the service and take it down and come bring it back every day. I mean, it's happened before, and this kind of led to be a public health hazard and a fire hazard for others. And maybe if it just don't work out, maybe consider a location on the west side. I know we got a west side zoning map that goes back to the Francis Federer administration of the 1950s, but it's been a food desert for years. We'd love to have something out there, a place for the general public to go out get something to eat. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Anything online? All right, I'll close public comments. Any other questions of the board, or how do we want to handle this from the board standpoint?
Well, from my standpoint, and I don't know how y'all feel, but I do agree, and I do know that Mo has been in business there a long time. And I know that the gap is small, but what's the point of having ordinances if we're not gonna enforce them? And, I mean, I will go with what the, majority of the board would decide, but I think that everybody could come up here and have that same argument for some reason when they are not in compliance. Oh, this, oh, that, it would be better or whatever, but we still have guidelines that we have to go by. So, I feel like we should follow what the guideline is, and if there's a way to accommodate him and he still be in compliance, I'd be 100% for that. But the rest is just, the rules are the rules.
All right.
Ditto.
All right. So we have a location that's been presented that's not presented here today. So, Irene, I think you would need to just submit to the clerk like exactly what you want us to look at. Like you did a good job of however it was submitted last time. I know you own like I think 2 or 3 lots there, whichever lot you're talking about. Just say this one, and give us the same thing back. And I think that the planning department can look it over and make a recommendation one way or the other at our next meeting, if that'd be okay with everybody. Yeah, Mo. Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for, coming up and saying that. I mean, I've been having the food truck for a long time in other cities, and I just feel like, in Michigan City, it's like the hardest thing to do. And I appreciate if it could be looked at again,
Absolutely.
for future food trucks. I mean, it's not a threat to have a food truck. It'll bring more business, And I think that even Mady's, if I go up to him and say, "Hey, are you okay?" And he will say yes. So we don't see each other as enemies. We pay taxes the same way they do. We do all that stuff, and it's seasonal. It's 2 days a week. So although I wish I would have been notified before here, and as far as this 300, which I thought I was, and it's just aggravating, but it could be looked at again. It would be great. I think it's time to change it a little bit. You actually said yourself that it's only 10 feet just talking about, which I appreciate, so again.
I will say that code was written, I don't even know, 8, 9 years, 10 years ago, probably at this point in time. We've advanced in the food truck technologies too. So with their, how they work and operate and things of that nature. So.
Well, that was my thought as well. If based off this example, if we could kick this back to the council to have them take a look at and evaluate that ordinance, because who knows when the last time they've actually looked at it was. And it's unfortunate that 10 feet. Yeah.
100%. 100% agree.
That's painful,
So-
honestly, for me.
Yeah.
So
So let's deal with what's at hand right now. The location, first, I think appropriate motion would be to continue it, put it on our to be continued table until next meeting. But in the meantime, you will get us a map of exactly what parcel you want us to look at.
Honestly, sorry to interrupt. I mean, that location this is the prime location. The other one is not. This will be more
Totally agree.
valuable. So I'm not gonna put myself somewhere where I'm gonna fail versus, do you understand what I'm saying?
100%.
So I mean, if I need to go to the council, we need to change, like even propose something to change it, because and there's a variance that could be done, like he had talked about.
Yeah, we don't have the power to grant.
No, I
variance,
understand. I'm just saying, like,
unfortunately.
if there's a way to do this and, approach the council to change it, to look at it. I mean, it's not just for me, for other food trucks.
No, I agree with that, but right now
I'm
I'm
not
trying to.
talking about me.
Right now, I'm just trying to get, if that location works, are you saying you don't want to go there?
I mean, we have to discuss it, obviously. but
Okay.
That's the main location is the one. that we're going
100,
for.
got it.
Other than that, it's not.
Yeah,
really-
so I think that you and Irene need to just talk and let us know what you want to do in the meantime before the next meeting. But right now, what we can do is we can table this to our next meeting in anticipation of having something brought back to us by with you guys in agreement, obviously.
Is there a way to go to the council, like, when's the council meeting to be on the agenda to look at?
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit. That's why I'm saying let's figure out this location thing first, and then that would be our first vote. And then I think if we want to kick it to council.
hypothetically, the council meeting's tomorrow, so nothing can be done by
Yeah.
tomorrow. They could have it done in a month if they did a second and a third vote at their second meeting. Hypothetically, if at the next meeting, if the council already has this in works, could we approve this pending adoption by the common council at their whatever meeting?
I don't even know when they would, if they would put it on their agenda. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd
they
have to
need a
have a
sponsor,
sponsor and all those things.
It's,
Yeah.
it's doable.
Yeah, I just don't know. But we can always recommend it to them.
Yeah. So
Alright.
what if we make a motion to table this for 2 weeks, try and get things rolling with the council? Because I definitely understand your need for this.
I agree.
10 feet.
10 feet. 10 feet.
Attorney Bill, recommendations, guidance.
Section 2634. Under section 2634, I think you can look at today's hearing as just kind of a fact finding where you got information from the applicant. And you can now refer this matter to this, one of the city department's planning for review and recommendation, maybe as to both. I don't know if there's any exceptions built in within the ordinance that would provide this board the power to modify the distance and
But to actually change the ordinance, it'd have to go to council. It's not something we do at this board.
And I know Miss Vanderborg, because I kind of did the same thing. She went from the very extreme side of the lot to the closest point it made. I mean, she gave him deference. So, but we'll look into that too.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that she didn't. I'm just saying it's
Gotcha.
the shame it's like 10 feet. That's it.
Okay, so is the appropriate, Attorney Bill again, is the appropriate motion today to table? Do you guys want the time to discuss the location on Michigan Boulevard? That's my question. Or do you want?
Well, we'll get back to you on that
It
one.
doesn't benefit me as much as the owner of the
Sure,
truck, or
100.
the ice cream truck.
I just want to keep it alive. I don't want to say no today and not, and then have to provide the whole thing back to us. Okay, that's what I'm trying to avoid. So.
Well, you have everything for this location already. Just gotta
So.
try to see if we could, do something.
I'll
with
let you
that.
speak. Go ahead, Ms. Centisdale.
And so should we make a motion to table this and refer it to other departments to look at and then revisit it as it's written next meeting on the 2nd?
Sure,
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
I will make a motion to that effect then.
A second.
Can I say something?
Give me just a second.
Sure.
I'm gonna call for the vote first, and I'll let you speak. Okay, call for the vote. Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Ms. Centisdale.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Ms. Irene, go ahead.
Okay, earlier today, I gave Isabel the application with the notarized letter for Frosty Boy, which is an ice cream store on Route 20 in Michigan City. And the lady that owns the ice cream store would like to sell ice cream on that same parcel next to Mo. So I was hoping to do that at the next meeting. She was preparing her paperwork for the next Monday meeting. So if we could talk about both of them at the same time, because they're both food trucks.
I think it's going to be a larger discussion about like the actual distances and things like that of a review of the code rather than allowing them to go there, because we can't allow them to go there if we don't adjust the code. That's
Sure.
that's the issue. And yeah,
Okay, yeah.
hope
so-
that clarifies.
So then I'll.
Sort of hold off a minute,
Oh, okay.
or turn in the paperwork,
can
and
get
she
the
may not.
paperwork,
It
and
may
if
not be
works
her.
out great. If it doesn't, then
Yeah.
I would offer her the same opportunity on the other parcel
Absolutely.
if she's interested. So,
Well, let us know. Okay.
okay, great.
Thank you. Okay. Our
Thank you.
okay. We good? Okay. Back to our agenda. Request for signage. Fringe and Ink is requesting to put up no parking signs and pavement striping on the south side of Harrison Street. Are they here today? Yes. Excellent.
Good afternoon.
hello.
My name is Lauren Peters. I'm the owner of Fringe Ink Creative Company here in Michigan City. On the south side of Harrison Street is public parking that is maintained by the city. And when the refuse decided to change how they were performing pickup. We used to put all of our trash cans in the alleyway. They no longer are able to pick up the trash cans from our alleyway, and we have no alley access because we have 5 private parking spaces that we cannot block. Directly next to that, we have a ADA sidewalk ramp and then a curb, which when I spoke with Refuge, they informed us that we needed to put the garbage cans on said curb. Every time we put them there, public likes to just move them because they assume that there is parking there, because there is parking further forward, but in that specific area, there is no parking. So now it's causing issues with clientele who have ADA concerns, who need to be able to use the sidewalk. Their only option then is to go an extensive amount of feet from the alleyway to Franklin Street in the middle of Harrison Street, which is not acceptable for me when I have a lot of clientele that require those accommodations. So we're requesting that the striping and a no parking sign be placed on that curb. And if you have the time, the parking lines don't look great. And it does cause a lot of vehicles. If you've driven past there when all of our businesses are big and booming, you'll know you can probably get through one car because people like to park straight, and it probably should be angled parking just because it takes up the whole entire roadway. So at this point, you know, my salon has grown up massively. We were voted top 20 in the nation. So we've become a spot for a lot of people traveling from out of state to visit as well. So we're trying to just make sure that we're keeping the flow of traffic active while also still ensuring that people who need specific accommodations are being accommodated.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board? Sean or City Engineer Warner, have you guys looked at this one at all?
Yeah, I took some pictures of the parking area in the alley and along the south side of the building there in Harrison. There looks like there were almost like perpendicular spaces there at one time along the south side of the building. That would stick way into the roadway if that was continued. Parking, I think, is an ordinance issue for all of our city streets. So to change any parking and to put up signs, I think would require a change of the ordinance for parking limits in that block of Harrison. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that in that parking and no parking and ordinance issue for police enforcement. So I mean, I don't have a problem with changing it and doing that, but it's something that I think would have to go to the city council for a change in the ordinance of what our parking and no parking areas for the street is.
Okay. Yeah. And striping. Is there any benefit to angled parking there that you see?
It looks like it almost have to be parallel parking to not be extending into the
I
street
see.
of Harrison. Yeah,
Got it.
between the sidewalk and the actual edge of the lane of Harrison.
Which would take up a lot of your, that would take up a lot of your parking. then.
Why, like right now, they are perpendicular,
yeah.
which is why angled would make it just a little bit better. But I mean, otherwise the street parking in front of on Franklin Street, you know, that's public too. And then my employees all park in our private parking. So it's basically just my clientele that we're concerned about making sure they're getting what they need, because on the north side of Harrison Street is a gravelled parking lot. I don't know. So that really doesn't help people who have any sort of mobility concerns either. And then I know the establishment next to me, they have a lot more employees than I do. So we're just trying to make sure that, you know, everyone can park, everyone has a place to be, and that our clientele is being taken care of on both ends.
Is there any merit in ADA parking there? Striping some ADA parking or looking at that to at least.
Like she mentioned, there's at the far west end of the sidewalk along the alley, it is ramped up. The sidewalk does ramp up to the building. So there is accessibility by wheelchair issues there at that end. So those first spaces closest to the alley along Harrison, if we do that, could be marked as handicap spaces. I will take, Sean and I will go out there and actually take a look and do some measurements and see what we can get there as far as parking from Franklin to the alley. And maybe we can just talk about some modifications to the striping that's there now, and that might help.
I was thinking like modification and then like because we do have the power to issue ADA, correct? That is something at the Board of Works purview, ADA. I'm looking at Sean back there. I believe so. No.
So the only other concern I do have is just if we do add more parking there, we need a small section of the curb for like 3 garbage cans.
Yeah.
Because the building next to us that we used to put the trash cans on, the owner doesn't want them there anymore because it was causing like a weird bottleneck in the alleyway, which makes their valid sense. And it's also not my property. So I'm respecting that. I have nowhere to put my garbage cans. Like genuinely. And then when I come out of my business and there's 3 garbage cans thrown on the, the ramp, and then I have my team parked there, it's like, what am I supposed to do? So we're just trying to get it figured out where that's why like at least some part of the striping just to say like, hey, you can't park a vehicle here, just so, because it also causes issues with people turning down the alleyway as well, because the alley is super small and there's a telephone pole there. So we're just trying to make a little bit more sense.
Okay. Sounds like Engineer Warner and is willing to go out there and take a look at it.
Yeah, I think Sean and I'll run out there. We did the diagonal stripes on Nevada. Last year. I think we can do something like that to do marked radius returns into the alley, and possibly the cans could be put in that for the first space where the ramp comes up. But we'll take a look. We'll get some measurements, see how many spaces and things we can get there and what we have between the alley and the radius returns, and possibly the garbage cans could be put out there before you get to the alley. So we'll take a look at it, come up with some sketches, and you and I can talk in the office with Sean and that and see what we can do.
And then just to clarify, your trash pickup is on the street rather than in your alley. Just want to be very clear. Okay.
The refuse department changed the rules of us being able to have recycling bins in the alleyway. The trucks won't go down the alleyways to pick it up anymore. I went months without my recycling being picked up and had no idea why until I called them, and they're like, yeah, we can't do that anymore. So put them on the curb, people put them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go take a look at it. So what I think we need to do today is probably just put this on our tabled list. But I will open it up for public comment prior to this. Any public comment on this item?
Hello, it's me again, Scott Melanter on Kenwood Place. I'm very familiar with this property. I think we need to recognize this building, we're going back about 10 years now, but was a derelict property pretty much, extensively rehabbed. In fact, I believe the city poured that new ADA sidewalk there.
We did help out with some of that.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the satellite shot, and the private parking lot in the back, essentially, there's about 20 feet between the end of their building and this alley, and that's the parking lot. So the problem is somebody parking where they shouldn't be parking. In the satellite shot on Google, there's a red car in the area we're looking at, and it's within 15 feet of the alley. It should be no parking. This shouldn't. I'm glad we're looking at a bigger solution. Angled parking is probably a good solution there. You can also see on the satellite shot that basically the cars are in the roadway. Their tail end is in the roadway there. So angled parking is probably a good solution. But within 15 feet of the alley is no parking anyway. And that's kind of the space I think she's referring to. So if this board has the ability to put up stop signs and things, I think we should be able to put up a no parking sign and some striping in a place where parking isn't allowed. So again, I'm glad we're looking at a better solution, but we have 2 successful businesses there, $1 million investment, and it looks bad this way. My only other concern is that the garbage cans not be stored on the public way, that they must be stored somewhere else and moved for garbage pickup.
They're stored back.
That'd be the only thing, because it's like, okay, great, you have a private lot, but if you don't have room for your garbage cans, that's a you problem, not an our problem. But that's a different thing. But thank you, board. But yeah, this is a simple thing. There's a car parked too close to the alley, and that's the problem. It's illegal parking as it is. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment?
Yeah, Tommy Kulavic, 1316 Ohio Street. I'm a little bit confused here. If there's no parking, why are we gonna put in an ADA parking place there? If this is just for the business customers, no, we don't allow on-street parking for any businesses. We've been through, I remember a few years ago, Representative Horizon Bank came up and wanted all the spaces on Fifth Street just for the bank customers. Captain Lineski said, they can't do that. The police don't know who's a bank customer or not. And then you're gonna have open up Pandora's box to every business in Michigan City to have their customer parking spaces for on-street parking. As far as the striping goes, there's striping that needs to be done all over the city. I think these lot here at City Hall, they need to be restriped. So I'd almost be considered to deny this. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anything online? Okay, hearing none, I'll close. Oh, sorry, Ernie, come on.
Sorry.
You almost missed it.
Ernie Hollahan, 302 Gladys Street. The question you should be asking is why sanitation stopped picking it up in the alley.
Good question.
You know, they still pick mine up in the alley. And I have a dead end street that goes around into the alley.
Yeah, it might probably be a truck issue or something. I don't know. We can look into that as well.
People having to drag their dumpsters out front. I could understand if they were picking it up with that one arm thing they have, but they can't do that either with cars around.
Yeah. Any other public comments? Anything else out here in the public? Anything online? Okay, hearing none, I'll close public comment. I think we have heard from Engineer Warner and Director Smith that they are going to take a look at this and report back to us on what maybe a solution could be. How much time do you need to do that? Next,
tomorrow, but I gotta wait for Sean.
so the next board meeting. Sorry, next board meeting. So, do we want to table this to our next board meeting?
Make a motion to table this until our next board meeting.
Okay.
Support.
You can call for the vote. Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Tisdale.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. We'll get back to you. So if you want to come to our next board meeting, we'll have a report back. And they may contact you in the meantime. Okay. Okay. Our next order of business is a request for signage. The Michigan City Street Department is requesting crosswalk signs to be placed northbound and southbound on Oak Street and Belden Street and westbound on Barker Ave at Queen of All Saints. Good afternoon, Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon, board members. Sean Smith, Director of Streets. I'm here today to request for 3 signs. These are actually stopped within the crosswalk. They're not your typical crosswalk signs. These signs are basically utilized when school is in session. The first one is West Barker Ave. That is heading westbound on Barker Ave to Willen Ave. That's by Queen of All Saints. There's one already there heading eastbound. We just want to put one going westbound. And the last location is the north and southbound intersection at Oak and Belden. That is over by the Marsh School area.
That's the one we just talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen the one at Queen of All Saints, and I like it. Yeah. Questions for Mr. Smith from the board? Engineer Warner, is this your recommendation?
Yeah, I asked Sean to look into the cost of these and they're pretty inexpensive to do. And since we had one at Queen of All Saints going eastbound and there was not one westbound, I said, well, we should have it on both approaches to the crosswalk. And if you're going to get one, let's get it and take care of that crossing to the playground there at Marsh School as well.
I think it's a good solution, actually.
I concur.
Yeah.
Are these not needed anywhere else? Any other schools?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question.
I mean, why only Queens and Marsh? We got the other schools too.
That's a good question. What was the question?
As the playground wheels squeak, we get the grease. So just let us know.
I think that's a good solution. I like it. So, any other questions from the board? Any other questions from the board? All right, I am going to open up for public comment. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, I'm gonna close public comment. Any other questions from the board, or do I hear a motion to approve? Just one question. If we approve, how quickly can we get installed? Perfect.
3 days, in case you didn't hear.
Okay, excellent. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Support.
I'll call for the vote. Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Moore?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next order of business is a request to use city easement. Paul Prespolinski, 1716 Washington Street, is requesting to plant plants on the northeast corner of Washington Street and Charles Street. Mr. Prespolinski?
Thank you, Board. Paul Prespolinski, 1716 Washington Street. I have submitted a permit, what I consider a permit to plant, to replant my corner that was demolished, and most of the plants have come back this year since they're perennial. And I wanted to only put out there anything that concurs with the current ordinance. I believe it's 36 inches in height. And they're all going to be indigenous plants to our area, native plants. And that's basically it. I'm following the ordinance, and I believe I'm following the ordinance on asking to plant on easement. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions of Mr. Prespolinski? Any questions from the board?
Yep. So they're growing back now, you said? Yep. Is that what he said?
The plants that were cut down.
Yeah, because they're
they've-
perennials.
So
and they were cut
they've already
down.
been planted, I guess is the question. So this ask is just to
Add more?
add more? You're asking to add more, or
I'm
just keep what you
cleaning the
have?
corner, hand pulling all of the weeds in there, and taking out the tulips that were planted in there to be planted by the house. And I am going to put some daylilies in there and other indigenous plants to our native plants to our area. Right now, there is a bunch of what I call prairie daisies that are already coming back, and just keeping it more organized, or, keeping it looking better than what it was, instead of a bare spot when it was cut down last year.
Any other questions of Mr. Prespolinski? Ms. Moore?
Specifically asking you, but I have a question. Is this something that, if I remember from previous discussions, that maybe vector control or somebody has to look at and approve what kind of plants might be planted on that kind, somebody?
I'm just gonna be very honest. I do not know, and I have not reviewed this
I
one.
don't believe that. I'll answer that. To my knowledge, I don't believe that's in the ordinance. It's follow the height requirements in the ordinance, and that's what I'm gonna do. There's a height requirement in the ordinance, and by all chances, so people do know that when you plant a tree, you're supposed to have a permit approved by the city. And there's a lot of people planting stuff that aren't getting permits. So I'm trying to protect my investment and time that I put into that corner. As of right now, I probably got 10 hours of weeding that area.
Attorney Bill, have you looked at this ordinance
I'm just
for the
trying to,
planting? I see you over there looking.
I'm just trying to right now, but I was given kind of late notice about this hearing today. But I'm assuming, and I'll ask maybe Mr. Warner, that this is probably more of a line of sight issue as far as the height of any type of plants that are grown and should be kept at a maximum heights or?
Yeah, I believe it's 36 inches.
I think Paul's right on the height for lower plants. And then I believe the trees is an 80-inch height above. So there's a period of time when you can allow the tree as it's growing, but once it gets a certain height, you have to keep the branches trimmed to 80 inches so you can still see down the road along the tree. And the plants that are lower should be at least 3 feet or lower. Yeah. I'm not sure of the ordinance either, but that, I think I recall that was what our forester was talking about last year.
To add to that, that all trees are not supposed to be planted within the triangular vehicle triangle on site of an intersection and not 25 feet from a corner, any corner. And if you look up that definition of a corner, that even means a alleyway, because that is considered a corner. Okay. So that's what I'm not planting any trees.
Yeah.
I'm not planting any bushes that are gonna go over 36 inches. I have some yucca plants out there that are not 36 inches. At the max, they're 2 feet. Even when the spike comes up, it's a singular spike and it's not gonna cause a problem with sight.
Any other questions from the board? It's kind of giving Attorney Bill time to kind of look at this one. I'm not aware that the council passed anything contrary to that at the, I know there was talk about it. I don't think they passed anything contrary to what's being asked.
So which point does it become a problem when you don't maintain it or get too high and whatever?
Yeah, I think so. If it was planted and it got out of control, then it would be probably a line of sight issue for either Tim or probably Vector or street department to deal with if it got to the point that it was, say, 5 foot tall and you couldn't see through it, like dune grass that gets pretty, there's decorative grasses that get really
Not gonna
tall.
be any dune grass,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Just
keep
giving it
it-
as an example. Yeah.
I'm
just an
gonna keep
example.
it
You're gonna
so it
maintain it.
follows the ordinance.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll call for the vote. Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well.
Thank you.
Please maintain it, Paul. Okay, our next order of business is correspondence. The Michigan City Police Department would like to recognize and congratulate Sergeant Michelle Wadelski on her retirement after 26 years of service. Is there any action we need to take on that, or just say
Denied.
congratulations?
I would like to give her a big congratulations, being that she was hired during my tour as police chief.
Mhm.
She's a good officer.
Yeah, and we appreciate her service. Absolutely.
She will definitely be missed.
Yeah. The next order of business is a disposition of grievances. Disposition of grievances filed by AFSCME Union on behalf of 2 employees. And note, this was an executive session held on May 12th, 2025. Any action on that, Attorney Beal, do we need to take? Or is it just for notification?
I was not at was that an executive session that was held last?
Okay, I was
Last
not there
Monday.
either. Yeah.
Monday. At this meeting, we're voting on whether to uphold, modify, or reverse the decision
Okay.
By the street department for those 2 employees.
So that's our vote today, is to uphold,
Modify.
reject, or modify. Okay.
And I make a motion to reverse the decision of the street department for both of the employees that presented. Can I do it as one vote, or does it need to be broken out into 2 separate?
So there was 2 employees. I would say break it up
I think it needs to be
for
2.
each one.
Okay, so for our first
agree with that.
employee, I make the motion to reverse the decision.
Second. Do we have the name?
No,
It's a personnel
No.
issue.
no, yeah. I will be abstaining because I wasn't there and I don't know the situation. Is that okay, Attorney Beal? But I will call the roll.
that'd be fine.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Simmons.
Do we have to give a?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, no.
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Chair abstains, and I think there's another motion we need
I'll
made.
make a motion to reverse the decision for the second employee as well.
Second.
I'll call for the vote. Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Chair abstains as well, just for not being at the meeting. Excellent. Okay. Next order of business is a payroll claims docket. This is a payroll docket for May 16th, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Call for the vote. Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale, Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Along with that is our claims docket for May 19th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Support.
Call for the vote. Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. So we have some unfinished business, the CSX repairs update. Updates on the repairs of CSX Woodland Ave and Buffalo Street crossings. Anything new to share on that? Engineer Warner?
I've been in contact with Jeffrey Reeder. He was the safety superintendent of the crews that came through. So they provided the maintenance of traffic when our crossings were repaired last fall. He was unaware that the street was missed and that Buffalo was redug up after being completed. So he talked with CSX and they told him, this is a Tuesday, May 13th email from Jeffrey Reeder of Safety Services. Tim, CSX said they will need to schedule these with the pavers, should be in the next couple of weeks or so. Thanks.
Oh, I got an or so, huh? Yeah. All right. You got an answer?
I got an answer finally.
Absolutely.
So
Wow.
next couple of weeks or so.
It's progress.
I will keep on trying to get a deadline nailed down and get back to the board in the next 2 weeks or so.
Do you want us to keep, do you want us to keep this on? Should we keep this? What's the pleasure or so? Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Do we need a motion to keep this on our table? I assume so.
Motion to table until our first meeting in June.
Okay.
So,
Or so. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale.
aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you for getting a response.
Thank you.
Okay, our next order of business is public comment. Any public comments?
Ernie Hollahan, 302 Gladys Street. I have been before you, I have been before the city council numerous times on some compost that I have in front of my house. I have at least 4 or 5 gallon containers of sticks and leaves and grass clippings, which have been there, I would guess, over a month now. And I have not got any results from anybody coming to pick it up. They come through my area Friday, 2 or 3 trucks and a front end loader. Picked up everything that's on the ground. Leaves, sticks, branches, and drove right by my containers and just left them. So I went to the alley and questioned the guy in the truck why they didn't take the containers of sticks and leaves and everything. Well, we've already passed it down. We can't. And he called his boss on the phone. Let me talk to his boss. And his boss told me, you're already past it. They can't go back. And it was just around the corner in the alley. I've never had this problem in the past. I called the street department. They guaranteed me they would be there Friday to get it. he called the sanitation refuge. Nobody showed up Friday. I called him back this morning. He called him back in sanitation. They said they'd be there today to get it. Well, as the time that I had left the house, which was about 3:30, they were still sitting out there. Nobody has come and got it yet. I have never, in the 54 years I lived there, had this issue of getting the compost picked up. Last year I had them out there. The gentleman that was driving the front end loader had his guys dump them in his front end loader and he put them in the truck. And that's what I expected the guy to do when they were there. I don't know where to turn with this. I hate to keep bothering Mr. Patrick, his street department, because I can't get through the refuge. I don't know where else to turn. My wife recommended I just take them down the alley and dump them out there. And they can come back and pick it up with their front end loader. I'm at a loss. In the past, if I just had one, I could set it back by the garbage and the garbage men would take it. They won't do it even. I was told that the sanitation or the dump, wherever they take them, will not take any compost or leaves or anything now in the garbage. So they can't put it in the garbage can. So I don't know where to turn from on this point. My tax dollars pays for that, for them to pick that stuff up. I can't hold my tax money back. They'll take my property. So I had a lady at the last council meeting come to me after the meeting, tells me I could take it to LaPorte over there to the compost there. I shouldn't have to do that. I'm sorry, but our services has gotten really bad. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments?
Paul Prisbalinski, 1716 Washington Street, lifetime resident of the Second Ward. I agree with Ernie. We are not getting our services from the countywide, what is that? What is that, Tom? Yeah, I don't understand why we're paying to the county and why they can't put a compost facility here or do something or recondition or go through the Hitchcock Street dump and get some of that wood out of there and recycle that, what it is, you know, I'll say dump, I'll say recycle some of that wood, let people come in, chop it up, cut it up, sell it, do whatever, or get it out of there. Cause that dumps. Is it closed? I mean, so anyway, besides that, I have some concerns of safety on trees in the Second Ward. I went by a gentleman's house back a couple months ago. He had a tree fall from across the alleyway. I think the limb was like at least 70 feet long. Hit his house, destroyed his fence, destroyed a lot of stuff over there. He was lucky his insurance company paid for it. But the forester came over there and they were talking about the trees in this neighbor's yard, and they're wrangly. I call them wrangly because they're split trunks. They got about 4 or 5 limbs, huge limbs coming out, and they're rotted in the middle. And I read the ordinance and I thought I interpreted correctly that they could get cited for a dangerous tree and be told or get a citation to cut it down. The forester didn't do anything with this individual. And they got 2 trees on there. So I went by there, you know, it's just a matter of time where that limb's gonna fall, and if the wind's right, where it's gonna fall. Also, the 1700 block of Wabash Street, I brought it up a couple years ago. There's a tree that's sitting on the right of way, it's half dead. On the corner of the southeast corner of Homer and Wabash. And that, I asked, they didn't believe me that it was on the right of way because that was gonna be a boulevard at one time. And when I lived at 1620 Wabash, the right of way came 3 feet in front of the porch. And that tree needs to be cut down. But also, as I read the ordinance, I look at how the trees are not to hinder the emittance of light onto the right of way. So as I left here at the last council meeting, I went down Washington Street, and you can look in the 400 block, the 500 block, the 600 block, and the 700 block, where the decorated lamps, real nice, they're all covered up by the trees. You know, and I'm not saying to cut the trees down, but you know, maybe they could put some lower lights in there or do something. Because I think that the city needs to follow the ordinance just like the everyday people. And then you got a couple bushes on Franklin Street by Magros that's are over 48 inches high. So if you're trying to come out of that driveway and you're looking northbound, you can't see anything. You can't see anything. That's what I'm bringing to the board. If somebody needs to do that, and I would think that we would have equal treatment under the ordinance, the city and the constituents. That's all. I'll have some more for you at the next meeting.
Any other public comments?
Hey, board, Scott Melanturn, Kenwood Place. You know, I appreciate everything you all do. You're all citizens volunteers, save for Skylar and the attorney. Oh, you work for the, I don't know. Citizens, you're all citizens. Most of this is volunteer work though. But what I'm hearing here, and this is a general complaint, we are so over-regulated. We have a lifetime resident asking for permission for street plantings. We want to beautify the city. And the reason he's here is because Vector Control weed whacked all his stuff last year. It was kind of a brouhaha. And I think he was pretty unhappy about it, and I don't blame him. We've got a long-running businessman who wants to move his food truck to a very viable location that would have way more benefits than not. You say you can't do variances. I beg to disagree. We have variances we have, what were my examples? I'm already forgetting my examples. We have the riverfront liquor license overlay, where in that area, you can have more liquor licenses. Yeah, there are.
This board does not do that, Scott. We do not have the power to grant variances.
You are representatives of the city. You're also unelected bureaucrats affecting people's lives and businesses. And I'm trying to come up with examples to demonstrate what I'm trying to illustrate here. We're overregulated. It's known. I've interviewed several contractors in the last 2 weeks. Every single one of them had horror stories about working in Michigan City, to the point, I know we're working in the planning department. I know there's a lot of change happening there. I recognize that. But the point remains that it takes a month or more to get a building permit, to the point where these businessmen are telling me they have lost contracts because the permits have not been issued. This is unacceptable. Our city needs to do better. And we have a new planning director. I have great faith in her. She asked for grace that it would take her a year to get things under control. And to really get your job under control, it does take a year. I'll grant her that. But right now, we've got problems that need to be addressed immediately. There isn't not a year to get it under control. I know you're aware of it. I know the board is aware of it. Yet these rules are still being harshly enforced with no give. And I believe we should have variances. I don't know, the idea of the food truck. having to go to common council, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, first reading, second reading, getting sponsored. The season's over. Mo's not going to be able to open up that food truck this year, in my opinion, because his location was 20 feet short of ideal. 10 feet short of ideal. And that was being a generous measurement. I don't doubt that's true. We're tripping over ourselves over parking in a place where parking isn't allowed. I'm appreciative of our city services. I think the men and women who work for the city and do the hard work of the city in sanitation, refuse, I think they do a very good job. I wonder why Ernie's having a problem with his little buckets. Maybe because they're expecting to see a 32-gallon toter and they don't recognize 5-gallon buckets as being something they're supposed to pick up. Just because they did it in the past, times have changed. I can't explain that, but I'd be frustrated too. We need to do better. And that message really has to get from the boards who represent the city to the men and women who work the streets. You can hear the frustration of many people that come before these boards. Are we trying to facilitate things or hinder things? And I think that's a fundamental question y'all need to address. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Yeah, Tommy Kolovic, 1316 Ohio Street. I fully agree with our senior councilman, Emeritus Paul Przybylski. I think some of the handling of our basic day-to-day operations of the city in efficient and an effective manner, it's been horrible. It's probably worse than the 2024 Chicago White Sox baseball season, and 2025 isn't looking much better. I'll tell you, I will say last week they did pick up my grass clipping cans last week, so thank you for that. I got another one out there. Hopefully they pick up tomorrow. They said they moved to the refuse day. I want to mention about the trees planted in the alley. You're not supposed to have any trees planted 10 feet from a fire hydrant. I see those all over. There's like 8 of them right in the Uptown Art District. One was right outside the door of Amber's law office. My neighbor, he planted one just right next to the fire hydrant last year. I told the forester, he didn't know. I'd let the forester know he got all these dead trees in the tree lawn. He don't do nothing about it. And it's been pretty bad, but hopefully things will get better somehow, some way. So want everybody to go out and enjoy the music and the food truck fest they're going to have in Washington Park over Memorial Day holiday, and the farmers market's going to be starting up. And just want to say, my favorite food truck go-to is the Cool Runnings Jamaican Jerk Chicken food truck, because they're always Jamaican me happy. Thank you.
Any other public comments at this time? Paul, please keep it short, brief.
I will. Paul Przybylski, 1716 Washington Street. On my comments, I was not trying to be abusive to the board. And I am very concerned about how the services are getting delivered and what these people who are appointed to these positions, what they're doing. All right. And I appreciate Scott's comments there on it is frustrating. It really is for the common person. But as I go through this journey, is I'm reading the ordinances to the mark, and I appreciate the leniency. I don't think you guys held me to the mark last year, but I want to tell you this. I have a medical condition, a severe medical condition. I cannot work out in hot weather or get overheated. That's a fact, medical fact. And I appreciate the board giving me more time last summer to correct my problem. So I just want you to know that. I haven't told anybody that yet, okay? And I didn't want to bring that up at the city council meetings when they were trying to, and they did change the ordinance from 10 days to 5 days, if you weren't aware of that, on the appeal process. And I brought it up that everybody gets, when they get a notice, like from the plan department inspection, they get 10 days to try to correct the process or to correct it. So that's neither here nor there. We'll correct that at some point in time. But I want to thank the board, and I think that you guys need to get some of these department heads to do what they need to do and not tell a constituent they can't do anything about it. And then they call me up saying, hey, Paul, what's going on here? So I go and check the situation out. I know what the ordinance says. But I guess if you contract out somebody in the future on a temporary basis with that grant money that you got, did we get that grant money from the federal government, that $1 million to do tree planting and all kinds of tree stuff? You need to seriously consider doing, besides the inventory, is doing an easement study to find out who owns these trees, where the easement actually is, like on a lot of these side streets. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. All right. I'm going to close public comment. And any board comments?
I just have a question, a status question.
Yep.
The project on Franklin Street, is that on schedule? The one down by,
The closure.
yes, the closure.
To my understanding, have you heard any? I'll put Tim Warner on the spot. Have you heard anything more on that? Because I know there were some delays on that piece. I've been kind of asking the same question.
You're talking between 10th and 11th?
Yes.
In front of the Franklin?
I believe so.
On Thursday, late in the day last week, the water department pulled a cable from the traffic signals. The signal maintenance crew, since there was so much damage all over the place and we had power out and signals were out everywhere, they didn't get a chance to get to this one. They put that signal on a back burner. I think they were going to be there today to try to get the cable checked to make sure it's still functioning. The lights always remain in flash mode, so they didn't lose power, but they thought they might have pulled the power from the don't walk signs, so they needed to check that. I don't know what the status of that check was today, but once that's done, then they can backfill the trench, and then Reith Riley will be paving all of the trenches and getting that street reopened. Not sure if it's by the end of this week, but I'm hoping so.
I do too. Yeah, it's cutting it close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other question? Any other board comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Carl.